But what can be said to those who claim Jesus' disciples were only having hallucinations?
What's wrong with hallucination theory? Probably no theory has more problems. Problem number one, groups of people, not even two at once, see the same hallucination. An hallucination is something that you believe so firmly that you invent the mental picture. Two cannot share an hallucination any more than two can share a dream. If you have examples of group appearances, and you have them, for example, three in 1 Corinthians 15, 3 and following, those are not hallucinations, not as a group. Secondly, the disciples didn't believe it. It's granted by everybody, both from Scripture and from psychology, that you can't have exuberant, expecting disciples after this calamity. Best friend, livelihood, everything's destroyed, and they're supposed to be hoping for a resurrection and making these sorts of images. So second, they're not in the right frame of mind. Three may be the most devastating one. Too many different people, times, places. You have men, you have women, indoors, outdoors, walking, standing, everything. The problem is to believe that every one of these people manufactured a private, individual hallucination is beyond credulous. We rarely even see hallucinations today, but they were just supposed to have them on demand. That's too problematic. Fourth problem, if the disciples were seeing hallucinations, we got a little problem with the empty tomb. It wouldn't be empty. And so the leaders are saying, fellows, we got a problem here. Now critics say, come on, 50 days later, what would the body look like? Hey, look, it doesn't make a difference. This body looks like it's crucified. Here's the nails. This is your man. Blows the theory away. So the empty tomb is a death blow to hallucination.
In addition, neither visions nor hallucinations explain what the disciples proclaimed, namely that Jesus literally, physically rose from the dead.
It's offered as an explanation of the appearances. But in fact, it does not explain why the disciples came to believe Jesus was risen from the dead. For you see, given the typical Jewish mentality about beliefs in the afterlife, they would have believed that Jesus would have gone to Abraham's bosom, to paradise, where the souls of the righteous dead would be with God until the resurrection at the end of the world. And therefore, if they had hallucinated visions of Jesus, they would have projected visions of him as exalted in heaven, where God had taken him up until the resurrection at the end of the world. But that would at most have led them to proclaim the assumption of Jesus into heaven, or the glorification of Jesus in heaven, not his literal resurrection from the dead. For the Jew, the resurrection was an event that took place in space and time, in history. And therefore, something more is needed than just hallucinations of the dead man to explain why they came to believe in the resurrection of Jesus, rather than merely his translation into heaven.